Okay, just to make sure you know that there is exam number 3 on Wednesday. There's no virtual class on Wednesday. The exam will be open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It will be timed 55 minutes. There are 50 multiple choice and 2 fill in the blank questions. If you have an accommodation, you can start taking the exam at 6:30 p.m. till midnight, and you will have more time. I also want to remind everybody, I put an announcement on Blackboard. I would appreciate as many students as possible to evaluate this class. The link is on Blackboard. You can go to the link on Blackboard and evaluate not only this class, but me as a professor. I would appreciate it because it helps me to understand what students look for and what they need in a professor. So I certainly would appreciate it. Today we're going to review chapters 11, 12, and 13 in the form of questions. And this is being recorded and will be on our YouTube channel. So let's start. Here is chapter 11. All right. Let's see if we can answer this. I'd like for you guys to open your mics and see if we can answer this. The nervous system has 3 overlapping functions. Which of the following represents a logical sequence to these 3 functions?
C.
C.
C. C. Sensory input, integration, and motor output. Let me ask another question. That's the right answer here. That's the right answer. But let me ask it another way. The central nervous system receives input from sensory fibers in the peripheral nervous system. Is that afferent or efferent fibers?
Efferent.
I heard a little voice. Is sensory input afferent?
Can you repeat it? The question.
The question is sensory input efferent or afferent fibers? In other words, what I'm asking is, what is the difference between afferent fibers and efferent fibers? Out of those 2 choices, which one is sensory, afferent or efferent?
Would it be afferent?
Yeah, afferent. Afferent goes towards the CNS because it's sensory. Then it is integrated and it comes out as a response, and the response is a motor response, and that is an efferent. All right, so know the difference between afferent and efferent. Okay, while studying for an exam, you reach for a beverage. To extend your arm, your blank nervous system is activated.
D.
D, somatic. It's a motor system and it involves muscles. Okay? If there's any questions about this, stop me and we'll explain it. Okay? But that's the explanation for that answer. Okay? The door slams shut loudly and you flinch. After a few seconds, you realize that your heart is beating very rapidly and forcefully. This response is a result of your blank nervous system.
Autonomic.
Autonomic. Autonomic. Very good. Very good. Complete the following analogy. Electrical wire is to electrical insulating tape as peripheral neurons are to
ependymal cells.
say it again.
Ependymal cells.
Ependymal cells. That's not the correct
Ependymal.
answer. Ependymal. No, that's not the correct answer.
Schwann cells.
A. Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system are the insulators. Now, tell me this. What are the insulating cells in the central nervous system called? I hear quiet. What are the? Go ahead.
Can you just repeat the question one more time?
Yeah. In the central nervous system, what are the insulating cells called? In the peripheral nervous system, they're called Schwann cells. But what are they called in the central nervous system?
B.
B. Oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes. Okay. So know the difference. You should know all the neuroglia when you come to the exam on Wednesday, because there are questions on almost all of the neuroglia cells on this exam. All right. Each neuron in our bodies has a lifespan of
B.
B as in 10 years. Is that your answer? Think again. That's not
D?
the correct answer. D. They last forever. Unless you kill them. And you can easily kill them by taking alcohol or other drugs to kill neurons. But the average lifespan of a neuron is your life, your whole life. The portion of an axon that communicates with the target cell is the blank.
Is it C?
It is C. The axon terminal. It connects to a muscle cell or another neuron. Yeah, the axon terminal. That's the answer to that. All right. The basis for differentiation between gray matter and white matter in the CNS is the presence of blank in white matter. This is the definition of white matter. What's the definition of white matter?
Is it B?
Say it again.
Is it myelinated? B?
Yeah, it's B. Very good. I just didn't hear you. Myelinated fibers. Okay. The definition of white matter is that it has myelinated fibers in it. The definition of gray matter is that it has mostly unmyelinated fibers in it. Okay? So that's the difference between gray and white matter. The location at which a neuron interacts with its target cell, either another neuron or a muscle cell, is called the
A.
synapse. Which of the following synapse types is the most rapid?
The electrical synapse.
Electrical synapse. Now let me ask you this question. What is the most common and abundant synapse in the body?
The chemical synapse.
Chemical.
Chemical, correct. Chemical, all right? Neurotransmitters are important in functioning of blank synapses.
B.
No, not B, not B. A, chemical synapses. That's the whole reason for neurotransmitters. They convert electrical energy into chemical energy and then back into electrical energy. All right. That was chapter 11. Chapter 11, I want you to know all of the neuroglial cells. I want you to know the structure of a neuron, and I want you to know the neurotransmitters. That's chapter 11. That's chapter 11. All right? Let's go to chapter 12, the central nervous system. I will tell you right now that there are more questions on chapter 11 and on chapter 12 on your exam. So focus on 11 and 12. And yes, there are questions on chapter 13, but I want you to focus on chapter 11 and 12. The pons belongs to which major region of the brain?
B.
B is not correct.
A.
A is not correct. The answer
D.
is D, the brainstem. Now, let's focus on this a little bit because there are a lot of questions on the parts of the brain in on exam number 3. Why is the pons so important? What does the pons regulate? What function of your body does the pons regulate? I can pick on people, you know. Stephanie, you there?
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
Tell me what vital function the pons regulates. If you don't know, just tell me you don't know.
I'm not sure.
What about Kyle?
It's the brainstem.
No, it is the brainstem. I know that. I know it's the brainstem. The brainstem is involved in involuntary functions.
Is it breathing?
Is
Breathing.
it there? Okay.
It's breathing. Breathing. Okay, it regulates the depth of breathing and normal breathing. Okay? So the pons is an important area of the brain stem. The brain contains blank ventricles, 1, 2, 3, or 4.
2.
3.
2.
How about 4? How about 4? It contains 4 ventricles. Someone tell me why the ventricles are so important. What's inside of the ventricles? Brendan. The good thing, the one good thing about virtual class is that you can hide behind your microphone. What about Megan? Megan Shea, you there?
Yes.
Tell me what's inside of your ventricles. Why are they so important?
I know that they're cavities, maybe? I don't know.
They are cavities. Stay there. You're correct. They're cavities. Tell me what fluid is in those cavities.
I might say it wrong. Cerebrospinal fluid?
You said it correctly, and you are correct.
Okay.
That's why the ventricles are so important, because inside the ventricles are spinal fluid. It contains spinal fluid. So that is extremely important to understand. Very good. We'll go to the next one. The blank of the brain is the location of our conscious mind.
Cerebellum.
Say it louder.
Cerebellum.
No. The cerebellum is not a conscious part of your brain. There's
Is
only
it
one. Go ahead.
D?
D as in dog?
Yes.
Correct. The thinking part of your brain, the executive suite, is the cerebrum, the cerebral cortex. What area of the brain is the staging area for skilled motor activity? The important word here is staging area. I would ask this question a completely different way, but it's what area of the brain is the staging area for skilled motor activities?
The premotor cortex.
Yes, the premotor cortex. Okay. The area for skilled motor activities is the primary motor cortex, but the staging area is the premotor cortex. Okay. The phrases left and right brain indicate that the two cerebral hemispheres display a phenomenon called
Is it D?
no.
Is it C?
Lateralization.
It's C. It's lateralization. Okay, lateralization. Okay. Remember, 90% of the people are left-sided brain dominance, and 10% are right-sided brain dominance. And lateralization really means that one side of your brain controls your life. If you want to be an artist, or if you are an artist, it's basically on the right side of your brain. Okay. Cerebral white matter in each hemisphere is greatest in amount for we are now talking about communication fibers, are they more in the one hemisphere? Are they more in between the two hemispheres? Or are they more in the visual association area? Or are they more in the smelling area? That's the question. Where are the most white matter fibers involved in?
Is it A?
Yes, it is A. Because you got to connect the two sides of the brain to figure things out. Okay? Damaged basal nuclei, as in Parkinson's disease, results in.
A.
Okay, I would have said A2, but I think the answer is going to be A. It's A. All right, because it's a movement disorder. It's a movement disorder. All right. Which of the following brain regions is a major convergence area for most sensory input before it is sent on to the cerebral cortex?
D.
D, the thalamus. The thalamus is known as a relay station. It is a relay station. And that's what convergence area of sensory input means. It is a relay area. In addition to its vital role in maintaining overall body homeostasis, which brain region synthesizes two major body hormones?
The hypothalamus.
The hypothalamus. The hypothalamus synthesizes two hormones. You don't have to know the names of the hormones. The names of the hormones are oxytocin and ADH. You can learn more about that in Bio 114. All
Quick
right,
question.
go.
Why wouldn't it be the epithalamus?
Because the epithalamus only has one hormone, and that hormone is melatonin. That's
Okay.
why. All right. And it has nothing to do with overall body homeostasis.
Okay.
Okay. The epithalamus only controls your awake cycle, your biological clock. All right.
All right.
Good question. Of the following brain regions, which, if severely damaged, would result in death?
Cerebral cortex.
No, you can live with a cerebral cortex that's severely damaged. You just won't be able to do much, but you can live with it.
Medulla.
The medulla. The medulla controls involuntary function, heartbeat, blood pressure. Very important part of your brain. Okay? Professional ballet dancers have a particular efficient blank. What they're asking you here is, what part of the brain controls balance?
D.
D, cerebellum. It's very difficult to stand on your toes as a ballet dancer, okay? So the cerebellum is balance. Which of the following brain systems is heavily involved in emotional responses? We briefly talked about this.
A.
A, you are correct. Limbic system, all right? Which of the following structures, if damaged, would produce less cerebral spinal fluid? What they're asking you is, what makes cerebral spinal fluid?
Is
B.
it C?
B, the
Oh,
choroid plexus. Okay? Choroid plexus. Now, let's focus on the four things that are on this question. Where, out of these other three answers, where is the cerebral spinal fluid? Where does it flow? Out of those three answers that are left, where is the cerebral spinal fluid?
C?
No, no.
A.
A, it's in the subarachnoid space. Before we leave this question, where, out of the other two answers, where is cerebral spinal fluid reabsorbed back into the blood? You only got two choices.
D.
D, the arachnoid villus. Okay, so those are some of the questions I could ask you on cerebral spinal fluid. Why is the blood-brain barrier ineffective against alcohol? I would never ask this question, but it's an interesting question. That's why I left it here so we could talk about it.
B?
So you're telling me that you can't ever get drunk by answering that question. But let me ask a question here. What is the answer that is thrown out immediately? Look at the four answers. Which is the answer that is thrown out immediately?
C.
C. You know that you can get drunk. So obviously it crosses the blood-brain barrier, correct?
Yes.
All right. So we know that B is incorrect. So now you have two choices. Alcohol is water soluble. Alcohol is lipid soluble. Does alcohol mix nicely in water?
Yeah.
Not really. Not really. It does not really do it.
So the
Okay.
answer is D?
The answer is D. Alcohol is lipid soluble. To go across the blood-brain barrier, you need to have a transport, and it's transported by lipid proteins to get into the blood-brain barrier. So it easily goes in. Remember, the plasma membrane of cells is phospholipid. So it's lipid. So anything that is fat soluble will easily cross the blood-brain barrier. All right? We didn't talk much about this disease, but you should probably know the answer to this question. Which brain disorder is characterized by memory loss, shortened attention span, disorientation, and eventually inability to speak?
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's, correct. You are correct. All right. A blank procedure might be performed to test for viral or bacterial meningitis. This is actually a stupid question, but
Thoracic.
no. Forget that. We're not going to put any needle into your chest. Forget that.
A.
No, A is an epidural tap. What A is used for is to paralyze you so we can operate on your lower limbs. The answer is lumbar tap. Otherwise, this is known as a spinal tap. It's a lumbar. I would never ask this stupid way of asking this question, actually. Okay, here again is they love this ascending and descending stuff. Ascending tracks transmit blank impulses, while descending tracks conduct blank impulses. This is the same thing as afferent and efferent.
Is it B?
It's B, correct, okay? Please know the difference between afferent fibers and efferent fibers. I'm going to ask you questions on that, all right? Okay, so that was chapter 12. And chapter 12 basically is the central nervous system. Please know the central nervous system before you come to the exam on Wednesday. And now we'll talk about the peripheral nerves and the cranial nerves, okay? Whoop. The perineurium. You have to know the parts of the nerve, the perineurium, the endoneurium, okay? We didn't go over it. Don't worry about it. It is the groups of fibers and bundles. Don't worry about that. I didn't ask any questions on that. But I did ask questions on cranial nerves. Which cranial nerve is the exception and travels to the thoracic and abdominal cavities?
The vagus.
Thank you. The vagus. The word vagus in Latin means wanderer. So it wanders out of the face and head and goes into the thoracic and abdominal cavities. Which of the following cranial nerves has both sensory and motor function? Here you have to know what all of these cranial nerves do. Okay? A is the answer. It's facial. It's both a motor and a sensory nerve. Okay? Now, let's focus on the other three. What is the motor function of the trochlear nerve? What organ does it move?
The eye.
The eye. You are correct. Okay? What organ does the hypoglossal nerve move?
The tongue.
The tongue. You are correct. What part of your body does the accessory nerve move?
Is it like the throat?
It's actually the neck and the head. The neck and
Okay.
the head. It innervates the sternocleidomastoid muscle and makes you move your neck and head. We'll talk more about muscles in the next go round. All right. Okay. Predict the outcome of damage to one cord of the left brachial plexus. Remember, the brachial plexus comes out of the cervical cord, C1 through C8, and it has more than one cord. Okay, one cord is a nerve. So if you only damage one nerve of the left brachial plexus, what are you left with?
A.
Bingo. Got it? Okay. You have paralysis of some function of your left limb. All right. If irritated, this nerve will cause hiccups.
C.
C, the phrenic nerve, C5. It comes out of the cervical plexus and it innervates the diaphragm. The diaphragm. Very good. Very good. A physician can determine the appropriate location of a spinal injury simply by testing areas of the skin for numbness. These skin areas are referred to as
A. Dermatomes.
dermatomes. Very well done. Okay. That is the review. Do we have any questions? Let me stop recording here.